Hey everybody. So my last video was talking about some rather idiotic red pill dating advice that I got from somebody and how utterly fed up I am with all of the red pill stuff. And they say that there is this kind of process by which you go from red pill to black pill and so on and so forth. It's like, of course, when you open the door for nihilism, you're just going to get deeper and deeper layers of hopelessness and despair. You can't summon the devil and then ask him to behave. And so uh, I wanted to, I realized as I was thinking about, so many people wrote in telling me that I really hit the nail on the head with those arguments that I made. And I've always looked for, been looking for a pathway out of the so-called red pill mindset and how to, because it is such a burdensome, uh, depressing mindset to have, I think, ultimately. And so I was thinking about what could form the philosophical basis for that, and I think I've found it. Before we get into that, though, I want to say I've decided to relaunch my Patreon, patreon.com/JordanOwen42. What I'm going to do is once a month, I will upload a sort of project video that will be the backer supported video for each month, and it will be maybe a video essay, maybe a new piece of music, a song, that kind of thing, some kind a production sort of thing, and so that's going to be my new project going forward with this. I've included a link first to the Patreon and then also to a video explaining why I'm doing this. The Patreon, by the way, is currently being revamped, so it doesn't, there's graphics up there from older stuff that I'm going to take down and put up new things. But I am setting it up and I'm going to start this in August in earnest. So, I wanted to do that. This is not meant to catapult me to the outer reaches of bread tubing. I just want to work up to about $800 to $1,000 to support my current income. I have two jobs that take up a lot of my time, and I've had some unexpected financial expenses, and I just need to start building this up anyway, so I don't have to either get a third job or stop doing work I enjoy to get a different job and that kind of thing. So if everyone who saw this video contributed $2 a month, I would instantly be at my funding goal. And anything I make above and beyond that will go to improve my operations here and everything so that I can, so I can continue doing more and more developed creative endeavors and that sort of thing. So that, please, if you're able, I would love it if you could be a part of that. And I will, as I develop this, come up with more backer reward stuff to try to kind of make it worth your while and everything. Anyway, so getting back from that, I wanted to talk about the red pill romance mindset thing, and it's a very empty, very loveless, very cynical sort of thing. And to use as an example, I'm going to use a red pill dating guru person that's attained some notoriety recently, named Orion Taraban. You can look him up, and he is actually Dr. Orion Taraban, and he is a psychologist, I believe, a therapist of some sort, but he sees patients, and I am not saying that he would not conduct himself in a professional manner or anything like that, obviously, but his philosophy and worldview are concerning to me, especially as, someone who has been in therapy, needs therapy, kind of came to his videos expecting good content like that. And he has a very cynical, very red pill sort of mindset about love and about the idea of love and romance. And he argues that romance is not a legitimate, I'm summarizing here, you can watch his actual videos, But he argues that romance is not a legitimate concept. It's not real. It's not something that's genuinely, it's not that the romantic love is not something that's actually felt between two people. Rather, it's a gambit, a seduction gambit that developed in Europe in the 17th century, where young men were trying to, common men were trying to uh, we're trying to stir up and stimulate the emotions of women to try to convince them that this feeling that they had they were developing was better than the lifestyle upgrade that was available to them if they went and married a noble man who could, provide wealth and stability and all of that for them. And he argues in a depressingly convincing manner that it's, that romantic love is this kind of phony sort of self-delusion, and that the men who try to get with women in this manner are kind of deluding themselves and deluding the women, and that they're like fundamentally dishonest men. And so, of course, then the natural corollary to that is that, like, the men who are the honest ones, and the ones that are honest with themselves and others, are just the ones that accrue massive amounts of wealth and status and everything, and they don't try to cynically manipulate the system with these ideas of love and romance and all of that. And you can start to see, as I summarize his ideas, why I would be concerned about this person seeing patients. But anyway, so first of all, this idea that romantic love did not originate, that romantic love originated fairly recently in Europe, is absolute horseshit. The Bible has examples of romantic love in it. Scheherazade, 1001 Arabian Nights has examples of romantic love in it. There are all sorts of examples of romantic love that predate 17th century Europe by hundreds, if not thousands of years. So that's absolute in literature and in history, and that is absolute garbage and absolute bullshit. But he's, like so many red pill people and advocates and everything, he's able to push this because, I think in part because he's so unflappable. He believes what he's saying with total and absolute certainty, to such a degree that you as the listener start to feel like, just on a gut reaction level, start to feel like a kind of simp, a kind of some sort of fraud, just because of the way he carries himself. It makes you doubt yourself and everything. And that's at the heart of so much of this red pill shit. And this red pill stuff, whether it's the men going their own way mindset that tells men that relationships are so fraught with peril that they're better off not pursuing them, or the manosphere thing that makes women sound like these kind of scorpion-tailed praying mantis people that are going to tear you apart if you let them and everything. All of that stuff starts to seep in, and starts to kind of take over in the mind. And all of it, we wonder why. People keep asking, why are all of the pickup artist type guys suddenly going trad cath and trying to live traditional Catholic lifestyles? Well, it's because they bought the bullshit. They bought the lie. They convinced themselves that romantic love is impossible. And then when they hear trad cath people like Matt Walsh saying, well, it's not about what you want. It's not about love. It's not about happiness. It's not about what you want. You have a job and a responsibility before God to, go shut the fuck up and make some babies and get the fuck back to work, damn it. That attitude, that suddenly becomes appealing, because it's like you tore away everything that they could have possibly wanted for themselves, and now you take this empty, shallow husk that's looking for something, looking for meaning and looking for purpose, and fill it with that. And it's a very dark, very cynical thing. And to Orion Taraban and red pill people like him, I have a simple answer, which is, you know, I don't have the romantic love that I would like to have. I don't have that, but I would rather yearn for and long for that romantic love than live in the bleak, empty, I would rather be alone in my yearning for that romantic love than to live in the bleak, empty, painful reality that you try to force on people or push on people. And I was thinking, who articulates that feeling best? And I hit on something, and that is C.S. Lewis. So I'm a tremendous fan of C.S. Lewis. Most people in and out of Christianity will know of the Chronicles of Narnia, which we're going to look at today. Most people will know of the Chronicles of Narnia, which, of course, they can be read as straight fantasy, just like Tolkien, Tolkien and Lord of the Rings can be read as straight fantasy, disregarding the Christian overtones and things like that. And so most people will have read probably The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or at the very least seen the movies and that kind of thing. So it's something that people are familiar with, but throughout the books, the films, all of that, there are, of course, all of these metaphors and allegories that are meant to be read as metaphors for Christianity and for Christian thought and philosophy and things like that. And one of the later books in the series is The Silver Chair. And at the risk of sounding cynical, I think the reason most people aren't familiar with this one is because, well, it wasn't made into a movie. It was made into if you were from my generation, you will remember the hysterically low-budget BBC miniseries where they adapted all of the C.S. Lewis books. And I remember we were in my 5th grade class, we were watching the adaptation, that BBC adaptation of The Silver Chair, and it gets to the point where the prince is strapped in the silver chair, and he's saying, cut my bonds, but his thick British accent makes it sound like he's saying, cut my buns, and we were all just tittering all over the place for that, because of that. Anyway, so the adventure party, if you will, the children and their magical companions in the Silver Chair have journeyed into the underworld, and there's kind of layers to this underworld. They are the underworld that they're in now in this part of the story is not a fire and brimstone hell inferno underworld. They get to a realm of the underworld that is clearly a metaphor for that. It's kind of like implied to be like the interior of an active volcano or something like that, that is clearly meant to be a metaphor for the fire and brimstone hell. But at this point, they're not there yet. They're in a part of the underworld that is more like the Greco-Roman mythological concept of Hades, where it's an underworld that's directly below the surface, and it's not hellish per se. It's just very empty. It's a very hollow, dark, empty sort of place, and this is where they are. And the young adventurers have a travel companion named Puddleglum. And Puddleglum is the sort of anthropomorphic amphibian kind of creature. And at one point, they are summarizing a lot of steps here, but they are arguing with the people who are the dark forces that are in charge of this underworld. And these dark forces are trying to convince them that Narnia and the world above, the overworld, don't exist. That there is no Narnia, there is no Aslan. Aslan, if you don't know, is the lion, the Jesus allegory lion, who is the spiritual leader of Narnia. Obviously Jesus, but the spiritual leader of Narnia. And the people in the underworld, the rulers of this underworld, are trying to convince them that there is no overworld. They dreamed it all. It was all fake. They were never there. And there is no Aslan, there is no Narnia, all of that. And finally, Puddleglum has had enough. And he says this. So, the pain itself made Puddleglum's head for a moment perfectly clear, and he knew exactly what he really thought. There is nothing like a good shock of pain for dissolving certain kinds of magic. "One word, ma'am," he said, coming back from the fire, limping because of his pain. "One word. All you've been saying is quite right, I shouldn't wonder. I'm a chap who always liked to know the worst and then put the best face I can on it. So I won't deny any of what you said. But there's one thing more to be said even so. Suppose we have only dreamed or made up all those things, trees and grass and sun and moon and stars and Aslan himself. Suppose we have. Then all I can say is that in that case, the made-up things seem a good deal more important than the real ones. Suppose this black pit of a kingdom of yours is the only world. Well, it strikes me as a pretty poor one. And that's a funny thing when you come to think of it. We're just babies making up a game if you're right. But 4 babies playing a game can make a play world which licks your real world hollow. And that's why I'm going to stand by the play world. I'm on Aslan's side even if there isn't any Aslan to lead it. I'm going to live as like a Narnian as I can even if there isn't a Narnia. So thanking you kindly for our supper, if these 2 gentlemen and the young lady are ready, we're leaving your court at once and setting out in the dark to spend our lives looking for the overland. Not that our lives will be very long, I should think, but that's a small loss if the world's as dull a place as you say." And I read that and I thought, that is the exact answer to what people like Orion Taraban are trying to push. If the love that I would seek in a relationship with another person is imaginary and unreachable, fine. I'll live my life in a fantasy land, the mere thought of which is infinitely better than what you have to offer. And you know what's being said there, what's being expressed there is obviously a metaphor for arguing. It's a counter argument to atheistic arguments about this physical realm that we're aware of and can see and touch being the only thing that there is, that this is all that exists and nothing else can be proven to exist beyond this. And what C.S. Lewis is saying there is, well, that's kind of sad if, this world you've got here, the only thing that exists is something that any child can think of an infinitely better version of in their imagination. That's pretty sad. And you know what? If there is, even if there is no God and there is no heaven, the joy of that idea is strong enough to make me want to live as if it's there, as if it's real, and as if it's possible, even if it's not, because what you're offering is just totally miserable and empty. And that is the real answer to red pill dating people like Orion Taraban, like the idiot that wrote in on my that I responded to in my last video. All of these people like that. That is the response that they need. That, you know what? Even if the love that I want, the kind of love I would want with another person, is totally fictional and made up and imaginary, and the real world doesn't work that way, I'll take my imagination, I'll take my fantasy over the real world any day, because what you are trying to convince me is the real world is so totally empty and unappealing that I lose nothing by not embracing it. I am infinitely happier in my delusion than I am in my in my embrace of the real world. But now, and the but is, I don't think that I am delusional in with regards to spirituality and with regards to what I would want out of romantic love. I don't think I am delusional. I think I think that the people like Orion Taraban have an extremely cynical, cold-hearted, Machiavellian view of the world, and it's very easy to fall into that because the world will start to make place as the world will start to make sense as a gauntlet of cynicism. If you look at it that way, it's very easy for it to make sense that way. It's a lot harder to believe that there's something better we can all aspire to. And so that's my response to that. I would rather be alone and yearn for something beautiful than have a companion to pursue something that's dreary and ugly and off-putting and undesirable. And that there is a boldness and a strength in that. And you see, the final kind of fuck you that Puddleglum delivers there, the good day to you, madam kind of tone of what he says. That really is it. We who want something better, we, if you are like me, would like to see romantic love, would like to have romantic love in your life, even if it is a rare, fleeting impossibility. It takes so much inner strength to hold on to that. It really is an article of faith. And that's it's interesting to look at it that way, because Orion Taraban himself in one of his videos talked about how there's he said that there is a spiritual component to people, to the idea of romantic love. And the example he used, and this is actually in and of itself a very interesting thought experiment. There's a song by the Scorpions called "No One Like You." There's no one like you. I could wait through the night for you. And he says, let's see if I can pull it up on the old laptop here. These are not reading glasses. They don't change my vision in any way. They're actually just lenses that are designed to filter the blue light from the screen, so I can stare at my screen for hours without getting headaches. Anyway, so, So he makes a point that if you take the lyrics to "No One Like You" by the Scorpions and change the word girl to the word Lord, it actually fits. It sounds like a prayer. And so, like, the first verse is, "Girl, it's been a long time that we've been apart, much too long for a man who needs love. I've missed you since I've been away, babe. It wasn't easy to leave you alone, getting harder each time that I go. If I had the choice, I would stay. Girl, there really are no words strong enough to describe my longing for love. Oh, I don't want my feelings restrained. Ooh, babe, I just need you like never before. Just imagine you coming through the door. You'd take all my sorrow away." And if you change that to, "Lord, it's been a long time that we've been apart, much too long for a man who needs love. I've missed you since I've been away. Lord, it wasn't easy to leave you alone, getting harder each time that I go. If I had a choice, I would stay." It does, it makes sense. And so there's an interesting observation there. He's trying to invoke that to make a point that he's trying to make it sound like people who pursue romantic love are just doing like a mental masturbation exercise, and it's a very atheistic way of looking at it, but that they're just doing a mental masturbation exercise, and he wants them to get over it. And I would say he has a point about the interchangeability of those lyrics, but I would say that it points to something deeper. I would say that it acknowledges that, yes, romantic love is in a way an act of worship and an act of faith and an act of there is a divine spiritual component to it. And if you're open to that, you're open to that, then no, you're not a simp for wanting it or yearning for it. So it's not a question of whether or not you're a loser for wanting romantic love. It's more like, are you a romantic love apologist or a romantic love atheist? And bringing back what Puddleglum was saying in the silver chair, I would rather be an apologist and a hatchet man for something as beautiful and wonderful as romantic love, something that has inspired all of these beautiful works of art and literature and poetry and music and every form of media has profound, incredible works of creative works in it that are based around the concept of romantic love. Though that it has, even if what he's saying is right, and again it's not, but even if what he's saying is right and it's all just some kind of cynical ploy. By the way, I don't know that Orion Taraban is a sociopath, but it is worth pointing out that sociopaths tend to assume everybody has the same cynical, backhanded, underhanded, Machiavellian motives that they do. But anyway, uh, it's you know it is, there is, if there is that spiritual component to it, it's inspiring. It's making the world a more beautiful and passionate and enjoyable and wonderful place. His worldview strips all of that from the world. It makes the world a more cynical, empty, miserable place, a more bitter place, a place where people, a place where instead of love and romance and relationships being a beautiful connection with people, it's just these power struggles between individuals. And so the the response to the best way I think to think about red pill dating advice is that it's like love, romantic atheism, if that makes sense. And I would rather be a romance apologist because, again, like Puddleglum said, even if there's nothing to it, it's still making me happier and making the world a more beautiful place. And it's speaking to a greater, a higher nature within all of us rather than the empty cynicism of your dark Hades of an underworld. So there you go, food for thought. And I should close by saying, you know, anytime you criticize someone that's some kind of red pill guru like that, the guy's acolytes will start swarming in instantly because you've criticized their potentate and everything, and they get very Mitzi is bothering me over here. Well, you didn't have to stop. I didn't. It's not really. Well, anyway. But for Mitzi, you go through the song "No One Like You" and change the word "love" to "attention." But anyway, the thing of it is, to all of those people, your guy, if you're rallying around him and you feel like you have to rush in and defend him, you really don't. These are ideas. We are speaking at the level of ideas, and having differences of opinion is totally normal and totally acceptable. You don't have to try to lay the smack down on some kind of blue pill loser because he dared to challenge your grand vizier and all of that. So anyway, there you go. Thank you for your time, and I think this has been a healthy kind of intellectual cleanse for all of us. And take care, and I'll talk to you soon.